Everybody, it's me, Willow, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're here with another fun video for all of you guys to enjoy. Today, we will be breaking down episode 6 of season 3 of Euphoria. And oh boy, does this bring us back to the basics. I feel like this episode was just so reminiscent of what I loved about season 1 of Euphoria. So I have so much to talk about this episode, but before we dive in, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the post notification button so you don't miss out on any of my future content. I will be continuing to follow season 3 of Euphoria. I'm also following season 1 of The Testaments, and I will be following The Vampire Lestat when it comes out in June. I also have film reviews every single week and pop culture content for you guys to enjoy. I'm also on all the major social media platforms at Willow D Steele, so go give me some engagement on those platforms. I'm so grateful for all of your support. So thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I'm so ready to talk about episode 6 of season 3 of Euphoria because I really liked this episode and the tone that it took. I felt like overall it was much more of a melancholy episode, which reminds me more of season 1 and season 2 of the show, and it felt like it was going back to the basics. So I really loved the cold opening that we had in this episode, very reminiscent of some of the other cold openings that we've had with Cal in season 2 and the opening to season 2 with Fez and Ash's grandmother, and we've had even like the cold opening of Rue in the first episode of season 1. We have this cold opening for Alamo and kind of his upbringing and what's made him into the man he is today. We're watching on the show, and we have Danielle Deadwyler playing his mother, which I love. I love Danielle Deadwyler. I think she is such a fabulous actress. I don't know if this is necessarily like the caliber of work I wish she was going towards. Like, I wish she was doing a little bit more highbrow stuff. Like, I guess Euphoria was seen to be like a highbrow TV show like it is HBO, but I don't know, I feel like the writing isn't, up to par to Danielle's acting abilities, but I do think she really does shine in this opening segment. And we get to see a young Alamo and his mother, and they bring in this new man into their lives, and he's like a God-fearing man. He has a lot of scarring, and it's revealed that he worked at like a chemical plant, and one of them like blew up in his face, and he's waiting to get a settlement. And then he gets the settlement. They're super rich. There's all these gifts. They get this grand house, Cartier jewelry, all these amazing things. They go on a trip, and then when they come back on the trip, they have been completely robbed. And while they've been on this trip, like, this is the best summer of Alamo's life that he remembers. He really does bond with this new father figure in his life, and the man asks the permission to ask his mother to marry him. But when it's revealed that this robbery takes place, Danielle Deadwyler takes her son away, and then it's revealed that she was a con artist all to begin with, and she got with this man because she knew that he had the settlement coming. She waited for the settlement to come for him to spoil her, and then she had her real man come in and steal everything while they're on vacation, and now she's settled up with this man, and her son just has to kind of deal with it. And the line that kind of ends this whole cold opening is Alamo promised himself he would never again let a bitch outsmart him. And like, I do think it kind of falls a little short. I do think the whole through line of religion here, and them going to church, and they have Moses down in Egypt, let my people go him going on. I think it's very like perfect for like the end culmination of this episode, having the different religious themes and having the other episodes as well having this through line of religion. I think that works really well, very solid. But I don't love the whole like, oh, make sure like I never let a bitch outsmart me again, because now obviously he's always on edge with everything, always thinking people are Judases and have like ready to stab him in the back. So I feel like that's not as intriguing, because I do think like all drug dealers would kind of have that level of anxiety and trying to have like that stance to be, you know, a presence and making sure nobody like tries to one up you. And I don't know, I guess that trauma from his past, it just doesn't seem as strong as it could have been. I feel like they could have, I really loved the whole segment. I thought it was very strong, but I felt like the outcome of it just doesn't like play like super strong towards who the character of Alamo is at now. I don't really like, you've held this grudge against your mother like your whole life. Like it's been like maybe like 40 years since all of this went down with your mother. So I don't know, again, I just feel like this is a little bit of like some sort of like projection of Sam towards like women and his attitude. So yeah, just a little hesitant on that whole, oh, I never would let a bitch outsmart me again. Like, I just, like, obviously that's playing into Lori and him not wanting her to outsmart him. But yeah, I don't think that was a super strong through line, unfortunately. After a cold open, we get right back into the cliffhanger of Rue being buried in the dirt and Alamo coming at her with the polo. And of course, you know, he doesn't hit her, you know, he kind of like misses her head, plays around with her a little bit as if he's going to basically like crush her skull in. But she says once again that she knows who the driver was in the video camera and that it's Faye and that she has her number and she can talk to her and convince her to get them their money back. So she calls her and they have this whole conversation about Fez and how Fez was always having her back and he had Faye's back and it's all Faye's fault that he's in prison and that she needs to help Rue out like Fez would. And we get this whole like montage of Faye falling in love with Wayne because she's kind of hesitant about helping Rue because she has now this like serious relationship with Wayne where they want to have like fair-skinned babies and he gives her a swastika tramp stamp. Like it's too much for me. I don't understand how this is like relevant at all. Like I understand that these guys are bad people. We don't have to have a whole white supremacist and Nazi storyline with them. I hate how Faye is being brought into this. I really hate how they're treating Faye this season. I just feel really bad for her that she's just kind of like falling into this mess. But she has agreed to find the key for the safe and put like a coin next to it so they can have it to size and take a picture and send it to Rue so then Rue can give it to like a 3D printer and they can get a copy of the key. That all goes out well. And it's very interesting to have this dynamic and I'm just so hesitant on the white supremacist stuff. I just feel like it doesn't add anything to the storyline because we have all of them, you know, gather up and they come and meet Alamo at his place and they kind of do a traditional Western standoff and it's really leaning into this aesthetic of the Western with all the different angles and the music and the colorization, and we have a real traditional standoff with Lori, Wayne, and the other like cousin, and then we have Rue sitting on the couch, Alamo, Bishop, Marshall Lynch, that one other guy that did like the tailoring last episode. They're all kind of like enclosed, and while this is going on, Rue's able to pull out her phone and put it out so the DA can like listen to it on the wire. And they're having this full standoff Western gangster, and Lori mentioned this business that Alamo has called Gold Rush Medical Services, and it's obvious that he's trying to play it off cool, but he is like worried that she brought it up. And he says that it's the plastic surgery biz where he brings his girls over to Mexico so they can get work done, and that they do class it as medical clearance so they can use ambulances in order to like get them over the border easier, I guess, without having to do a lot extra paperwork or being reviewed. I'm pretty sure this is kind of like the whole human trafficking thing they're going on in that rehab place where Angel went. I think we're going to get a little bit more information on that maybe next episode, but they basically agreed that they're going to use this service that Alamo has to get 80 kilos of fentanyl from Lori over the border with her new mule. We don't get to mention who the new mule is, so I'll be interested to see next week who that person's going to be. They spit on the deal, and then he like really intimidates Lori, pulling her in real close, using his like stature to really be threatening and say, you will not outsmart me, bitch. Like, we have a deal. You give me my stuff back after this is all done and completed, and then we can go back to our business. So that's what's going down. There's also a mention that they're shutting down the border. I don't understand fully what was going on with that, but basically all of their supply chain is going to get cut off. That's why they want to do this one really big deal before the border gets shut down. So they have staying sharp, and that they need to make sure this all goes according to plan. So I think this is going to be a big, you know, plot point in the next couple episodes. So I'll be interested to see for episode 7, the penultimate episode next week, and then the finale episode, how the DA is going to play into this whole plan, because they did meet up with Rue and tell her we're moments away, you know, just stay sharp, everything is going to work out, you just have to hold tight for just a little bit longer while we let everything fall into place. Obviously this has Rue on edge. She feels like she's almost in the clear, but no cigar just yet. Unfortunately, after a really heavy Maddie episode last week, we didn't get too much Maddie in this episode. We have Rue trying to warn her about Alamo, and she's like, well, I'm a big girl, it's going to be okay. She wants to milk the girls for everything that they're worth, and they do this whole like photo shoot at the Silver Slipper with Kitty, Magic, and Cassie. It is very aesthetically pleasing, don't get me wrong. They bring the python in with Cassie, it's sizing her up. And we have Maddie trying to bring up to Alamo that maybe the girls could use a day off so she could bring them out and meet some people in LA. And Alamo hates that idea. He gets really upset with Maddie. And Maddie's like, well, I'm not trying to, you know, steal your girls. I'm just trying to, you know, help profit them better, get more people to be aware of who they are. And again, the whole idea of like people trying to one-up Alamo and be Judases towards him is brought up. And Bishop's in the scene and he vouches for Maddie and says, I don't think Maddie is one of these people. And that's it. We don't get any more Maddie, so that's really disappointing, because she's like my favorite character this season. I think she's probably one of the strongest characters, and I thought they would be giving her a little bit more, and I'm just disappointed that she was really sidelined in this episode. Another character that's getting really sidelined is Jules, unfortunately. One of my favorite characters from season 1. I just really hate the trajectory that they're doing with her. I think this conversation that she has with Rue is really important though, especially from their dynamic from season 2. Rue is sitting down in the apartment with Jules. Jules is painting once again, and Rue is talking about how she wants to start a family and she wants to, you know, put her problems onto something that's not herself, and she feels like that would give her more satisfaction in life if she had like a family and look for something greater than herself. And Jules is saying this is a fantasy, and that she just ends up hurting everybody around her, and that she thinks that she will be able to handle all this, but in the end, like, she's just kind of putting her problems on other people. And Rue basically admits that I want you, like, I want to be with you, like, basically saying, you know, I want to be forgiven, like, all these mistakes that I've made in the past doesn't mean that I don't see this relationship in front of us. And Jules is not having it. She's obviously still very deeply hurt from everything that Rue has done to her in season 1, season 2, which makes sense. Like, I feel like they've never actually come together and realized all the issues that's happened with them, especially after the big blow up in season 2 and that huge breakthrough, like, with Rue and Jules, and Rue just like really slamming into her at the end during like the whole intervention, and them flushing the drugs down the toilet. Like, that was a really brutal scene, and I feel like Rue has never really truly apologized for that, and saying, oh, she wants a family and she just wants to live her life for something greater, I feel like is really like kind of rubbing all of that pain back into Jules's face, and just saying, oh, you know what, like, I just want to like kind of rub over all of that and, you know, forget the pain that I've caused people in the past and look towards the future. And I understand that with Rue, but I feel like Rue does have to kind of take, like, you know, the 12 steps of recovery, and one of those 12 steps is making amends and apologizing and understanding the pain that you've caused. And I don't think she's truly come to that yet. So they have this really big blow up because Jules says that the relationship was a mistake, and Rue's like, oh, well, you think I'm a mistake? Well, I think everything you're doing right now is a mistake. You are being hidden in this place, Jules, and that you are a little toy being locked in this little room, and, like, what is Ellis doing for you? Like, you are not actually, like, anything of meaning, and really putting her down, like another kind of blow up, maybe similar to the season 2 intervention moment. And Jules ends up hitting Rue, and she, like, has this dramatic, like, fall into the painting, and Jules kicks her out. She's like, I hope that you're gone because Ellis is going to be here in 45 minutes. So really, really sad to see how this has happened between these two characters. He used to be so close at one point and had such tenacity and love for one another, and now they're just completely broken from the pain that's been caused. And I do agree, like, I've always loved them, and I do think they are super cute together, but they are super unhealthy and toxic together, and I do not think they should get back together. But that doesn't mean I don't want them to be friends and to have, like, forgiveness for one another. So very, very complicated, like, scene with the two of them, 100%. We dive more into Cassie in LA Nights. She has her scene with Dylan Reed, and it's supposed to only be a couple lines, but then she ends up doing this improv, and Patricia, played by Sharon Stone, and the director are kind of feeling it, and they are really into what Cassie's doing. So then they have a conversation with her and talk about maybe making her, like, a season's regular, possibly doing, like, maybe like a good girl, bad girl love triangle with her and the other characters on the show. And then Lexi is really, like, trying to sabotage her, which I understand. Like, she's kind of coming up in Lexi's space and one-upping her. She feels embarrassed in front of her co-workers, and she, like, reveals that Cassie does OnlyFans, and basically they have to convince Cassie to delete the OnlyFans if she wants to be a season regular on LA Nights, because she has to, you know, be taken away from that seedy life and be given a better future, and that Patricia wants to help out family, you know, at the end of the day, and get these sisters to be, you know, reunited after all of this, you know, unfortunate stuff has happened between them. So it's really interesting to see this dynamic between Lexi and Cassie, and between Lexi and Patricia as well, because then Patricia's like, why don't you take a crack at the episode and write it? And Lexi's like, you want me to write it? And she's like, yeah, why don't you pretend that you deserve it? And this is my only thing, like, I love Lexi, and I just feel like she's not as witty and as sharp as she has been in season 1 and season 2 especially. Like, Lexi should be using this to her benefit and writing Cassie in however way that she wants, and, like, really edging her towards death, which is, like, one of the characters kind of, like, suggesting Lexi should do, like, have a big dramatic, like, soap opera death, which would be, like, hilarious. So I'm really interested to see what happens with the LA Nights and Lexi, just because I feel like we only have 2 episodes left, so I don't know if we're going to get much development with her, unfortunately, because she's always been one of my favorite characters, especially in season 2 with all that they did with her and Fez, and giving her kind of like her solo little moments. So I'm kind of disappointed that she hasn't been given a little bit more. So hopefully in the final 2 episodes she gets a little bit more to shine. So we get to see Cassie deleting her OnlyFans, and this is going to be, like, a big deal because she's calling Nate, trying to get his opinion. He's not picking up, and obviously she's not going to make the same lucrative money that she does on LA Nights that she had with OnlyFans. So she's not going to be able to keep paying off Naz's, you know, money that's being held over Nate. And I feel like this is eventually going to come back to Cassie, and they're going to hold it over her as well, because she's his wife. You know, oh, some women inherit wealth, some women inherit debt. I feel like that's a very important line. So I think Cassie's definitely going to be pulled into the scheme more directly than she has been in the last couple of episodes. And I love the whole scene of her leading up to Delete the OnlyFans with dramatic music, and it's kind of like a montage of her walking towards the sea of like condoms and lingerie and all this OnlyFans paraphernalia. So I love that. I thought that was really fun, and I liked the aesthetic of it. I thought that was some great filmmaking there, very playing it on the nose. I liked that. I also, again, kind of playing into the church idea, is that everybody is praying in this episode and going to church. We have Alamo in the beginning, in the past, flashback, him going to church. We have Maddie last episode talking about Jesus and quoting the Bible. We have Rue, like, really, really into it. She's listening to the Bible in this episode once again in the car. She goes to a church and she has this really big whole scene in the church, and she's looking at the 10 commandments, and she calls her mom and saying, I believe in God, and that she believes if there's a God, then that means that there is redemption and salvation, and that she really needs that, and she doesn't want to be stuck with all the mistakes that she's made, and she just wants to be able to start over and be forgiven. And I think this is really important to show where Rue is and all the trauma that she's had to go through in her life. And like, I think we often forget that this kind of all started, when she was younger, in the OCD and the mental health that she suffered as a child, and never really feeling like she fit in place, and how social media really, kind of changed a lot of like my generation and how we see the world, and how our, body dysmorphia is affected, and our body confidence, and how we're seen by everybody, and the trends and the fads that you have to fall into. And also like leading into her father's cancer, and then him dying, and her getting into addiction. All of these things, have really been hard things that any person would have to go through. And now she's been a drug mule, and she's working with 2 prolific drug dealers, and she's going through all this crazy stuff. And of course she wants to be forgiven. She wants to live like a normal life, and that's why she's talking about being with a family and having kids and starting over. And I think this whole monologue is really beautiful and shows the skill and the range that Zendaya has, and why she is super deserving to be, an Emmy winner, and to be at this height of her career. Like, she's proving why she's one of the best actors of my generation. She is a standout movie star, and she's killing it here on this TV show. I do have to say I was a little disappointed with this scene though, because they do have Rue basically doing the whole conversation by herself, very similar to the Fez phone call that she had a couple of weeks ago, where it was all one-sided. But then at the very end of the conversation, we get to see the actress who plays Leslie, which I know that she was on really hard times and nobody asked her to come back for the show, and she was just like working a regular job, and all the fans were upset that she wasn't coming back. She was trying to advocate for herself to come back, and they gave her like one tiny scene, and she had to say, I love you, Rue. So I felt like that was a waste. I don't know why she didn't get to have a little bit more of a back and forth conversation with Rue. I know it's because the filming was all taking place at random times, so I'm sure that's probably the factor, but it was just a little bit of a disappointing, because I do love that actress, and I feel like she always gave her all in season 1 and season 2, and I think she is supposed to be in next week's episode, so I hope she gets a little bit more meat to do. And yeah, and we move on to Nate. This is the only scene we have for our Nate. Again, kind of very, very little, and similar to Maddie, they just don't utilize him as much as compared to last week, and he's very upset. He's destroying the white fertilitaries, he's stomping on them, and then he says the F slur not once but twice. Guys, why are we using the F slur in 2026? Like, first the Nazis, the swastika, the white supremacist flag, like the N-words being said by white people. Why are we saying the F slur now? for the flowers. Like, this is ridiculous. So I was really peeved by that as well. I don't understand what context, how that is added to it at all, except showing that Nate's just a seedy person and Sam is just a terrible writer. We have Naz's bodyguard coming back to beat up Nate, and it's kind of concluded that maybe they've like kidnapped him or something because Cassie can't get a hold of him, and a delivery guy comes and delivers a package to Cassie, and I was like, what's inside the box? And it was revealed to be Nate's finger with answer the phone. So I'm guessing they're going to try and call her, like Naz is going to call her, or no, it was because she kept calling Nate saying answer the phone, why aren't you picking up? So they definitely have Nate kidnapped, so I don't know what's going to go on with that. Obviously Cassie doesn't have her OnlyFans anymore, so she can't pay a bunch of money up front. She's gonna have to come back with her OnlyFans, especially because she signed a contract with Maddie. I'm sure in there somewhere it's saying you can't delete your OnlyFans. So yeah, it's going to be a big stuff going on in the next couple episodes, I'm sure. Then we get a great scene with Bishop and Rue, and we're talking about this kind of like folktale about this snake and this dancer and how they used to like sleep together, having the python in her bed, and they would cuddle, and then all of a sudden the snake stopped eating for weeks, and she took it to the vet, and the vet said this is a completely healthy snake, and she's like, well, something's wrong, like it's not eating, and the vet says, well, it's preparing for a larger meal, it's sizing you up, that's why it stopped eating, and it's like cuddling you, getting too prepared to know how big you are to eat you. And Bishop basically says you never know a motherfucker's true intentions, and he threatens Leslie here, basically saying, oh, I saw your mother the other day and told her how you're doing so well. So some people are thinking maybe he's an undercover informant as well, and he's kind of alluding towards the DA through like the whole mother thing. I don't know if he's actually threatening her because he's with Alamo. I don't think he's an informant. I think he is with Alamo, and I think he knows something's going on with how many times she's talking to her mom, and I don't know if he knows exactly that it's the DA, but I definitely think he has an idea of what's going on. So then he threatened her mother, so hopefully we'll get a little bit more next week with that whole storyline. Like, I feel like there's a lot of setup in this episode, and I'm just hoping everything can be seen to fruition in the last 2 episodes. I know the last episode I think is supposed to be extra long, so yeah, I feel like there's so much meat going on, and I'm not sure if it's going to be fully cooked by the end of the season, and I'm just going to be very frustrated if that's what happens. And then very end of the episode, we get more biblical lore. We have Rue listening to the Bible, and it's kind of like skipping on the radio. I don't know if that's supposed to be like alluding to Rue kind of straying from her religious godly path. And she almost gets in a car accident, and then she kind of like runs off the road, and she sees this Joshua tree magically burn up. And I'm not very educated on the Bible. I'm not a religious person, so please tell me in the comments down below. I know that there is like an Ezekiel quote talking about like the world going up in flames and trees being burned, and I am pretty positive that this symbol of flames and fire in the Bible kind of reminisces like the presence of God, or also kind of like an evil spirit. So I feel like this is supposed to definitely show like some sort of deity and representing the good and the bad that Rue's going through, and giving her a sign that she is kind of being thrown off course. So I'll be interested to see how this kind of plays to fruition. Obviously it's a big religious symbol, and it's trying to bring and strengthen the religious themes of the season. So I'd be interested to see what you guys are thinking of these religious themes in the comments down below, and how they are working for you. Do you think they are strong, or do you think they're just not really playing well enough? I think they're working, especially with this episode, and kind of bringing more of the religious aspects with Alamo into play as well. I felt like we were starting to see this theme come to full circle, in my opinion. So this was definitely the best episode by far. I thought this was bringing us back to the basics of Euphoria, and I was pretty satisfied with the episode. I felt like there wasn't anything too crazy, too raunchy, nothing too glorifying. Again, I didn't love the whole Alamo never gonna let a bitch one up me again just because he had like these issues with his mom, which I do think were valid. Like, don't get me wrong, I just don't know if that was the most clever or smart writing to try and bring us like our understanding of who Alamo is as a person. But I do like what's going on with our characters. I don't know if maybe the pacing is a little off because we do have, like I said, Maddie and Nate for just like a brief moment throughout this episode, even though they are like huge players in the season. Though I do think Nate is just like, I feel like Nate is just not jamming with this season. Like, I feel like he was probably one of the most like busy people, and he was just filming the majority of his scenes by himself. And I do like the Naz storyline. I think it's compelling, but I just don't know if it's really working. And especially with this like really short scene with him here in this episode, only 2 episodes left. Like, I just don't know if it's going to give me the payoff and the satisfaction that I am pining for. So yeah, I'm just a little worried there. I'm also worried about the Cassie storyline. I just feel like there's so much stuff, so much meat, and expectations being led on. Like, there are so many characters. Like, I need satisfaction for the whole Rue, Alamo, and Lori, Faye, like all that stuff. I need satisfaction for that. I need satisfaction for Cassie and her OnlyFans and her relationship with Nate and her autonomy. I need satisfaction for Nate as a person, as a villain. Who is he? The karma he's getting, what's going on with him and Naz. I need satisfaction for Maddie and her being an agent. Is she going to move past these OnlyFans and her job at the PR agency? Is she going to be this big, bold, you know, celebrity manager that she rightfully deserves? Like, so many different characters. Jules, what's going on with Jules? Is she going to stay with Ellis? Is she going to be able to break free and get out of this place and be a little bit more true to herself and the artist that she wants to be? I don't know, man. I don't know how we're going to finish this in 2 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure you're subscribed and have post notifications on so you don't miss out on my review for the penultimate episode and the finale episode. Oh my goodness, 2 episodes left of Euphoria. I can't believe it. So make sure you have post notifications on so you don't miss out on whenever I post. And also my other videos like TV, film reviews, pop culture, festival content. I will be coming out with a Cannes video, doing a little update hopefully this week. I am a little busy, but it will be coming out soon. And some awards predictions. I want to get in kind of like a festival awards prediction as they're about to begin with Cannes and Venice coming up in like 2 months. So expect lots of content in the next couple weeks. Like, I am super busy, so much stuff is coming out. So if you're subscribed and have post notifications on, you won't miss out on any of that good content. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, the Awards Expert app, Letterboxd, and Serialized, all at Willow D Steele. So give me a follow on those platforms, engage with me. All of your support really helps to push me out into the algorithm so I can meet other like-minded folks like you guys to help join my cinema loving community. I'm so grateful for all the support and love. Thank you guys for liking and commenting. I'm so grateful for this community. So until next week, make sure you guys keep getting lost in cinema. Bye.